If it's a relatively small voting universe, then I don't have to spend as much money. Obviously, if it's a bigger voting universe, a assembly seat, a congressional seat, you're going to have to spend more money. So understand what your voting universe is, and then the voting propensity within that universe. If you're running this year in November, you are running in an election where there will be the most voters that show up. Presidential elections in November generate the highest turnout, which means you're going to have to spend the most money to get your message heard by the people that will show up. This year especially, do not, when you do your propensity, if you're going to do any kind of a propensity, do not forget new regs. New registrations this year are motivated people. People who are registering this year are upset about something. This whole change. Now forget about what we're changing to and from and all the rest, because nobody can tell you a damn thing about that. But everybody wants change. So the people that are registering right now are registering because they're going to show. They may have never voted before, and most voting propensities will identify people based on how they voted before. Get your new regs in your voting propensities this year. Identify those people. Okay, we've mentioned know the job and the issues. Why are you running? Your doorstep pitch, okay? Mike mentioned walking precincts. Here's what you have to imagine. I walk up to a house. Knock, knock, knock. Mrs. Jones opens the door on a Saturday morning. Hi, Mrs. Jones. My name's Kirk Uhler. I'm running for the County Board of Supervisors. I'm handing her my walk piece, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm handing her my walk piece. She's kind of reluctantly taking the walk piece out of my hand, and while she's doing that, I'm telling her the 3 things I want her to know that I put in that walk piece. Because she's looking at, she just saw a nice picture of me and my family and my puppy dog, and she's kind of hearing me, and I want to be reinforcing what is in that walk piece. So get it down to a 30-second pitch, that doorstep pitch, and you have about as much time as it takes her to take it out of your hand, to look at it a little bit, to kind of nod. She's looking over her shoulder because the kids are screaming, and okay, yes, thank you very much for stopping by. Okay, no, I don't have any questions, thank you. That's it, it's the time you got. It is the rare person's door that you knock on that is actually going to engage you in a conversation about something that you're so passionate about you don't understand why the whole world isn't passionate about it. Okay? So you got to get it down to your 30 seconds. Let me take a moment to talk about negative campaigning. Does negative campaigning work? Yes. Negative campaigning does work to the extent that you use it to draw a distinction between you and someone else. Again, if you're running in an open race, forget about it. There's nobody else running. Right? You're running in an open seat, there's nobody else running, so you're not doing anything negative. You're not talking about anybody else. You're not mentioning anybody else. If you're running against an incumbent, there's a reason why, and you're going to use, quote unquote, what gets referred to today as negative campaigning. You're going to use it in a compare and contrast fashion. The incumbent voted to euthanize all kittens under the age of 12 months. I don't think that's a good policy. I won't euthanize your kitty. Okay? So you're going to compare and contrast. You're going to set that up. It was just recently alluded to about a campaign that we just went through here in June. And there was an awful lot of money spent by one candidate talking about the record of another candidate. Talking about the record of a candidate is good. That's fine. It's legitimate. But at some point, you have to give voters a reason to vote for you. All right, already. You've established that the other guy's a miserable SOB. That's great. I don't like him as much as I used to. Who are you? Why am I voting for you? We didn't see that in this last congressional race, and it was disappointing. Would have liked to have seen a little bit of that. Saw a whole lot of why you shouldn't vote for the other guy. Didn't hear a whole lot of why you should vote for me. So, yes, quote-unquote negative campaigning, using it in a compare and contrast fashion is fair. If you're running against an incumbent, it is necessary. Understand what the issues are, and again, bounce it off that kitchen cabinet. Make sure it resonates with them. It may be that you're the only kitten lover in a world of dog lovers in your entire district, and every dog lover thinks it's okay to euthanize kittens. So you're not going to get a whole lot of traction on that issue. So bounce it off of people. And then some campaign minimums. First and foremost, ballot statement. Is that what you guys call it, Ryan? The ballot statement? What you pay these people to send out your message on their letterhead basically to every voter in your district. If you don't have any money for anything else other than the gas to get to their office, raise the money for a ballot statement. It is a 200-word statement?
Candidates.
Candidates, thank you, candidate statement. It is a 200-ish word, they'll go through this. This is your one opportunity to make sure your name and your message have the opportunity, I'm not guaranteeing every voter reads it, but have the opportunity to be seen by the voters. You're running in a down ticket race. There's a reason why Senator McCain hasn't called you yet. You're not that high profile. He doesn't want you campaigning with him right now. You're running in a down ticket race. People really don't pay that much attention to down ticket races until what? The ballot's in front of them, they're absentee and the ballot's in front of them, or it's Monday night before the Tuesday of Election Day. They open up that voter pamphlet, they've got their stack of slates and all this. They open up the voter pamphlet, they're like, Jim Jones running for election clerk recorder. What is this title? This is the longest title ever. Who is this guy? Boom, there you are. You're right in front of them at that point in that absent, or in your, what is the form called that you guys mail out?
Sample ballot.
Sample ballot, thank you. You're right there. So that's, if you have money for nothing else, pay for that. Second, walk piece. You will develop a walk piece. This is that piece of paper that I mentioned that has your picture of you and the family and the puppy dog on it. And not kittens, because we're in a district that likes dogs. So you've got your walk piece. Your walk piece says what? Who you are, why you're running, how people can get in touch with you. That's it. Don't ask for money on your walk piece. Nobody that you hand something to is going to write you a check. So, who you are, why you're running, how people can get in touch with you. Website. If you're running for office and you don't have a website, you're making a huge mistake. Beyond the walk piece, earned media. These guys will talk about that. How do you generate some buzz about your campaign? Earned media is media you don't pay for. If you're having the spaghetti feed that Mike alluded to, you're sending a press release. If you're going to be standing on the steps of the courthouse decrying the latest injustice, you're sending a press release. You're doing as much as you can to generate earned media, which earned media means free ink. So whatever you can do, send them something saying, on this day, I will be here saying this, and here's why I'd like you to cover it. If they don't cover it, typically they'll run just a little blurb saying, you're going to be somewhere doing that. Very cheap, get your name out. And then I'm a big fan of the Dear Friend cards or Dear Neighbor cards, huge fan of that. This is where you take that group of 10 or 15 people that you have that are your committed supporters and you ask them, will you send out to the people in this voting universe, in this area, under your name, handwritten on the envelope, your address, will you send something out saying, dear neighbor, I'm supporting this person for this office, and here's why. Anymore these days, when you open your mailbox, you see something hand addressed. Do you open that? That's the first thing I open anymore. I don't, all this other stuff that's all computer generated, it's the first thing that gets opened right away. And again, it's just one more affirmation that there are other people out there in the community that have heard your message and you've been able to convince them. That, if you want to spend money on signs, great, spend money on signs. Please understand that signs are more useful in just reassuring your supporters and your volunteers that you're actually running a campaign than they are in doing really much of anything else. It's like comfort food for your campaign people to see signs. And then lastly would be paid, at this level, would be paid professional, the slick mailers that just show up in your mailbox with a picture of the American flag and the bald eagle and all that stuff, and you open it up and there you are standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. This level you don't need it. If you needed it at this level, you'd be paying a campaign consultant and they'll do it for you, and so don't worry about it. Finally, take advantage of this office. You can't believe, number one, the resources that they have, number two, the free advice they're willing to give you, the elections experience they have, not just in actually putting on the elections, but watching so many candidates run for office. Take advantage of the people. call them up and say, you know, Mr. McCauley, can you meet with me for 15 minutes? Mr. Ronco, can I have 10 minutes of your time? Farron, you actually know something, so I'm going to ask for 35 minutes of your time. These people are a tremendous resource. Take advantage of them. With that, we'll stop.